an honor and a pleasure to share this time with you tonight. It was so lovely of Deb to ask me to give a talk about Reiki, and it's something that I'm so passionate about. So ladies, my name is Natalie Benoit, and my business is called Natalie Benoit Wellness. I'm a Reiki master teacher and a holistic health coach, a holistic wellness coach. And so my passion in this lifetime is teaching people how to heal. And there's many cofactors to that. So I come from a very natural, holistic background. I've studied naturopathy. My emphasis is holistic nutrition, alternative medicine, herbology, homeopathy, flower essences, and of course, energy medicine. And so that's what brings me here tonight, ladies. So I'm extremely passionate to share the benefits and the beauty of what is Reiki. Although I think I lost the screen here. I don't know if you ladies can hear me. It's saying
we can still hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, cool. This is my first time doing a Zoom. So thank you for allowing me to be a novice with Zoom. I was a little nervous, but okay, terrific. As long as you can hear me, that's awesome. So yes, I became a Reiki practitioner in 1999 and a Reiki master teacher in 2009. And so in 1999, I had already started a journey about natural healing, natural wellness. In 1999, I accidentally cured myself of all of my illnesses and diagnoses. And so at that time, I had a lifetime of migraine headaches. I had IBS for 20 years. I had a chronic debilitating degenerative disease in my spine, a central nervous system disorder. I suffered a stroke when I was 15 years old. I had anxiety, depression. At 18, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I had horrible panic attacks. I had lumbar radiculopathy, which means the messages from my brain weren't getting to my legs properly. And I'm just scratching the surface. And so at the age of 31, I had a newborn baby, and I had read that breastfeeding was best for the baby. And despite being breastfed, she was a very, very sick infant. And at 9 months old, she had had 5 courses of antibiotics. The 6th course of antibiotics, I threw the prescription out the window after leaving a physician's office, and I was crying to my husband, and he's like, "Oh my God, Natalie, you just threw out the prescription." I said, "Honey, I don't know what we're going to do, but this ain't working." And so I was praying really hard about answers. And so I did, I really prayed it in, I think, a book called Healing Childhood Ear Infections. And that book literally changed my life. I radically changed my diet to help my breastfeeding baby. And when I radically changed my diet, I accidentally cured myself. And so that just opened Pandora's box. I then became very passionate. I really didn't know what I was passionate about in this lifetime until that happened, when I accidentally cured myself. So then I opened Pandora's box and became a researcher. And, you know, the cofactor of healing myself through nutrition was new to me for sure. And I'd been to specialists and doctors, University Madison Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin, here in the Milwaukee area. I had been to many specialists, and no one ever talked about nutrition or what you were doing for my health. And then of course, for my breastfeeding baby, they certainly weren't saying, "Well, Natalie, what are you eating to help with that breastfeeding baby?" It is something that's not really discussed. And so I was already on a natural health path, and I had that infant daughter, my husband, and I was taking care of a bedbound mother with multiple sclerosis. And she had been bedbound at the time already 20 years. And at that time, she was in so much pain and suffering. I was praying, I was only 31. I was praying either God to take her or for a miracle for her to be out of pain. And so I'm proud of myself that I even was entertaining that there could be a miracle for my mother. She was on such heavy medications, a duragesic patch, oral oxycodone. So she was sleeping most of the time because of these pain relievers were so strong. And so I went to a natural health workshop in Jackson, Michigan. That's where I was living at the time. And forgive me, ladies, my language is kind of funny. I'm wearing Invisalign. I know, 53, I'm straightening my teeth because I'm wearing down my bottom teeth. And so I want to prevent having crowns at a later date. So anyway, so some of my language, I apologize. I do not have a lisp. I have Invisalign's in. So I went to this natural health workshop, and I was praying for an answer. I was praying for a sign, like, for my mother. And so there was different classes we could sign up for. And there was one called Reiki, or Intro to Reiki. And I had heard the word before, but I had no idea what it was. I thought maybe it was like rolfing, which is like a manipulation technique, or was it a massage technique? I really wasn't sure, but I felt really called to go to this class. I was really intrigued. And I went to this workshop with a girlfriend of mine. So we settled into the room, and I'm chit-chatting with my friend. And then I hear the teacher walk into the room, and I look at the teacher and I could see her aura. And so certainly at the time, it wasn't clairvoyant, wasn't clairaudient. And so I assumed I was getting a migraine, because that's the only point of reference that I had. When you see a yellow light around a human being, I was thinking, I'm getting sick, I'm getting a migraine. So I'm looking at the teacher, and I look again at my friend, but I'm not seeing the aura anywhere else in the room. And looking back at the teacher, then it dawns on me, I'm praying for an answer, I'm praying for a sign. Well, that would be called a sign, because normally I couldn't see energy, not at 31 years old. So after the class, I was so fascinated by what this woman had to say. I went and talked to her, and I said, I'm very interested about this Reiki. And she said, I will direct you to a Reiki master in your area. At the time, I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She gave me the name of this woman. And even before having a Reiki session myself, I went to a certification workshop. It was a one-day workshop where I became attuned to the Reiki energy. And so again, ladies, I had never had a Reiki session myself. I just felt so called. And that if you have only one takeaway today, ladies, it's really, we're not taught to follow that gut feeling. We're not taught to follow our intuition. And I urge each one of you that when you have that little voice inside that's speaking to you, even if you don't know what to do for your next step, listen to that little inner voice. So I felt really called to become Reiki, and I felt nervous about it. And one of my girlfriends is a born again Christian. We've known each other since we were 5 years old. I am not a born again Christian. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm actually Christian, Buddhist, Sufi, Jew. That's a whole other topic. I think they're sacred in all religion. But this friend of mine, she was so nervous. She said, is this not of God, Natalie? What is this Reiki? And I said, I believe it is of God, and I'm going to follow that gut feeling, because that's really how I believe that God speaks to us, that little voice. But she had me kind of nervous, like it was, evil or something. So I went to the class, became attuned to this Reiki. It was a wonderful experience for me. Went home and I started using this Reiki energy on my mom every day. And within 2 weeks, she was medication free. Within 2 weeks, she was off her pain meds. So with this Reiki energy, that's my first miracle. That's my first miracle. And after 20 some years, I have many, many testimonials of miracles. And so although Natalie Benoit, I'm the vehicle for this energy healing, it's not from me. It moves through me. It's this really, it's hard to put it even in human context. It's energy healing that's really beyond our understanding. And so even after 20 years, I still feel so humbled and amazed and so honored to be able to use this for me and my family, and also to use it for clients. My intention in 1999, that was just to help my mother. I wasn't going to be practicing Reiki outside of my home. I was just going to do it to help her, my husband, and this infant daughter. And then I started having friends saying, can you give me some Reiki, Natalie? Or people would stop over and they just want a little session. Or suddenly my husband's like, why don't you do this for your business? Not a bad idea, honey, not a bad idea. And so from Reiki 1, I thought I'd just start there. And then I became Reiki 2 the next month because the woman was offering another class. Again, I just felt so called. I was so intrigued, interested, and it's another level up. And I thought that's perfect. But then in 2004, again, I felt called to become Reiki 3, which is the last and final level of Reiki. And it's really along the lines of, if you imagine a 3-watt bulb, the first click is Reiki 1, the second click is Reiki 2, and then the third click is like the full amount of energy that you can receive. So the energy moves through me and then through the palms of my hands to the individual receiver. And that can be a one-on-one session, but also Reiki can be sent distant. And so this particular energy, no, it's like quantum physics. It knows no time or space. So having said that, ladies, before we started this talk this evening, I was prayerful that each one of you, if your heart was open to receive, that you'll be receiving Reiki energy from me this evening. So although we're in different places, I consider this a sacred circle, and that's the language that I use. So ladies, and again, you'll have to forgive me. I show up as my authentic self, no matter where I go, no matter who I'm speaking to. So of course, I don't know any of you ladies, but nonetheless, an honor. Know in your heart, I'm going to share from my truth and from what I believe to be true, or what I know to be true. And so take with whatever resonates with you. And if it doesn't resonate with you, or if you think, oh my God, that Natalie's batshit crazy, then you just leave that behind, okay? So allow your heart to be open, your heart and your mind to be open to receive. This language that I speak at 53, very, very different than when I was 31 years old. And my husband will joke about it all the time and say, I married such a normal girl. Yeah, I was a normal girl. I bartended, I waitressed, I was in the restaurant industry, I managed restaurants. I was a food and beverage director of a country club for a time towards the end of my restaurant career. I was a new mom, taking care of a bedbound mom. So he married this gal who was just really like the girl that you would meet next door. And now, you know, I radically changed my diet, and he changed his radically changed his diet. Suddenly I'm talking about Reiki, and he's like, what the hell is that? Is that a cult? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like, no, honey, it's energy. He's like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. I said, I feel called. And that's when I first started back in, 1999. I'm like, I feel called. He's like, who's calling you? Where do you feel called? I'm like, God, I feel like God is calling me. But now this language that I speak, it's taken me more than 22 years to really evolve into the language that I speak today. So ladies, I welcome you. I'm so grateful to share this time with you. And so Reiki, in and of itself, there are many books on the subject. There's videos on the subject. And for me, earlier in the, early in my career, 1999, 2000, I did read some books on Reiki. I'm really a Reiki purist, where there is so much misinformation. It seems like anytime there's a practice or modality, human beings start to imprint their dogma or rules surrounding different systems, religions, or energy medicine. I'm pretty straightforward. This energy medicine moves through me. It's a healing energy that's not from me. It's really from God. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. Is it universe? Is it God? Is it Christ consciousness? Whatever you feel comfortable with. It's this energy that moves through us. And so with the blessing with Reiki, when I decided to use it on my mom, and then my husband, first thought I was crazy. Then he saw that my mom was no longer on meds, and we were in our bedroom, and he was weeping. And my husband's a really sort of normal Joe kind of guy, kind of stoic, if you will. And for him to be crying, he said, Natalie, I don't know what the hell this is, but keep doing it. He was so humbled by this energy medicine as well. And now he's seen over the 22 years how it's so benefited us, benefited other people that we know, family members, many, many clients of mine. We've literally witnessed miracles. And so individuals, I can call myself a healer, but again, if you meet a healer that says it's them, you want to run for your life. You want to associate yourself with healers that are saying it's this higher energy, this higher source or God that moves through you. And Reiki is really, really cool. It works mind, body, spirit. So ladies, I'm just being frank with you tonight. Earlier in my career, I would sort of make everything really palatable and say, most practitioners will say it is for stress relief, stress reduction, and it absolutely is, but it's far more profound than that. Reiki energy, it helps you to heal mind, body, spirit. So having said that, one of the most profound benefits of Reiki is when you're receiving a session. And so ladies, if your hearts are open to receiving, when you're receiving a session, it helps to release traumas and stressors that you've stored in your body. And especially as women, well, human beings in general, but especially women, from little on, to really, pull yourself by the bootstraps, put on that smile, be a good girl, get good grades, do best you can. There's not a lot of time for processing and allowing human beings to heal from stress they've encountered. So Reiki can allow you to release and heal things that you don't intellectually know that you're healing. So that's really huge. There's different books you can read, and they'll say you have to do all this work, or there's spiritual work, and you have to really, in that inner child. And if you feel called to that, but I respectfully disagree. In our culture, we view healing like it has to be so much work. What I love about Reiki is that it is stupid easy. So I do dabble in different things. I love crystals. I love Reiki and the homeopathy that I mentioned, and these other natural remedies. But Reiki in and of itself is such a profound healer, and it's so easy. So it kind of defies logic, where you think, well, you can become certified Reiki at the level 1 in one day. So it's like, well, how beneficial can that be? Well, we've been all programmed to believe for something to be beneficial, you have to study for years, or you have to practice. That is not the truth. Part of my evolution in this lifetime has been releasing so much that has been taught and indoctrinated in my mind, where I've learned that so many things do not have to be difficult. And so Reiki, allowing yourself to have a Reiki session, really allows, you're invoking your free will to allow healing to happen, to release stress and trauma. Reiki also assists in balancing your energy meridians. So that's like from Chinese medicine. It also helps to balance your chakras. And so that's Ayurvedic medicine. But it also helps you to heal at a cellular level in the human body. It helps the electrical system of the cell, the mitochondria, to work, to behave normally. It helps to quell inflammation. It helps for blood flow, if you will. So it helps not only the stress, but it also helps the physical body itself. It's really quite profound. So when we talk about stress and trauma, I'm literally talking about from even Reiki can go as far back when you were in your mom's belly. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you're like, yeah, that okay, Natalie. No, this is literal. So there's many, if your mother had a stressed pregnancy, many of us were unwanted pregnancies. And so the infant feels that energy. And so the blessing of Reiki can go back from in utero, and impressions, like how things, there's a word I'm trying to find for myself here. Perception is reality. So for example, you have 2 5-year-olds, and a teacher yells at them and says, you're naughty, you're naughty little girls. One little girl might be, meh, who cares? And the other little girl, it impresses on her heart and literally carries that negative energy for the rest of her life. It's perception. Perception is reality. And so even an example like that, Reiki can go back to that 5-year-old little girl and help to heal that accidental trauma. And so what's so beautiful about Reiki, it becomes cumulative. So the example of my mom, in only 2 weeks, you guys, in only 2 weeks, she was no longer in that chronic pain. The first time I gave her Reiki for that first hour, she wept uncontrollably. And I'm new to Reiki. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, are you okay, Mama? Are you okay? And she'd say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm like, what were you crying about? And she couldn't articulate what she was crying about. Now, 20 years later, I'm like, oh, that was just such an emotional release. And all of that emotion that she was releasing on that first session, every subsequent session within that 2 weeks was building on that healing from the stresses that she didn't even remember or recollect that existed. So for my mom's journey, bedbound with multiple sclerosis, now 22 years later, I look back at my mom. Now I can see more. Her childhood was very abusive. She didn't speak poorly of my grandparents. She spoke highly of them. She suppressed and repressed a very damaging childhood. And that is a big cofactor to why she ended up being bedbound with multiple sclerosis. for all of you ladies as well. There's cofactors to disease for sure. Stress and trauma is a cofactor to disease manifesting. And so what an easy, lovely, passive way to receive healing. For Reiki sessions, you just arrive fully clothed. There's nothing you have to do. You keep your heart and your mind open. That also activates free will. Making a Reiki session appointment is activating your free will. Then when you come to the session, you keep your heart and your mind open. You ask to receive the most amount of healing for that time together. That again is activating more free will. Reiki works no matter what. For those who think it's crazy or skeptical, it still works for them. And for those who are really activating their free will and very prayerful, they're just receiving a magnified form because they're so ready and willing to receive. And so, all right, ladies, do you have questions for me? Let me take a breath here, because once I start talking about Reiki, you can see I get diarrhea of the mouth. Anybody have questions for me?
Well, you're not in New Mexico. Where would we find somebody like you in New Mexico that we know would be credible?
Absolutely. Well, credible. So here we go. This is with what talking about intuition again. So even just hearing me speak this evening, you're thinking, shoot, I would like to try a Reiki session. Even what would be Googling, or I no longer use Google because so much of the true information is being scrubbed. So I use DuckDuckGo. So even when you're praying and say, oh, okay, God or universe, please help me find the right person for me. And even when you put then DuckDuckGo, Reiki practitioner, if you feel called, if a name resonates with you. And so the lovely Deb, are you there this evening? Is Deb with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so Deb is in your area. Deb is one of my students, and she asked me to speak this evening. So Deb comes with my highest recommendation. So I'm not sure where all of you ladies are located. If Deb is in your area, Deb comes with my highest recommendation. She's one of my students, and we did spend quite a bit of time together as well at what I call a Reiki share. Every month at my wellness center, I host other Reiki practitioners to practice Reiki on each other. So to heal the healer, if you will. So if you feel more called to get a recommendation from Deb because she's from the area, or if you're anywhere near Deb, she comes with my highest recommendation. Deb is also a Reiki master. I am a Reiki master teacher, which means I teach Reiki, but Deb is a Reiki master, and she is the highest level of the healing energy, the healing flow.
Natalie, can I just add to that really fast? Amy, I
Please.
know you're new to Pink Warrior House. So Deb offers, like with all things Pink Warrior House related, they're free of charge. So Deb is at Pink Warrior House every Thursday, and she does Reiki sessions. So if you're interested, you just need to let us know and we'll get you scheduled. We're full for this week, but we do have us one spot open for next week, and we can just keep going from there. So just know that that's an option that Deb so graciously offers through Pink Warrior House.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Deb. And so for the rest of you ladies too. So I hear the word credible, and just know in your hearts, if somebody is a Reiki practitioner, if they're Reiki 1, Reiki 2, or Reiki 3, those are just levels of the type of energy. But as I mentioned earlier, ladies, using Reiki 1 on my mom for 2 weeks rendered her pain-free. So Reiki 1 is very powerful. And so really anybody who is Reiki, somebody who feels called to become Reiki, I would sometimes there's good and bad in every arena. We all know that. So you could simply try a Reiki practitioner that is near you, even if it's not without a recommendation. But may I say, although I say don't Google, but I am on Google Business, and I have a lot of very good 5-star reviews. And so that's also something too. Somebody who maybe doesn't have their own private business, but somebody locally, maybe just practicing out of their home, or you might have even a friend or a family member that maybe not a family member, but maybe a friend that you don't know that practices Reiki. So you could do a shout out and ask, hey, does anybody practice Reiki out of their home? Or then again, go to Google business and Google Reiki practitioner. And then if somebody has good reviews, I've had many of my clients say they found me through Google, and because I had good reviews that I was the practitioner they chose. So I hope that answers your question. Ladies, are there any other questions?
What about, you mentioned like diet wise and food stuff. So I've read several books on like, changing your diet with disease and cancer. And my dad's been telling me this for years, but if you have recommendations or suggestions or anything along those lines, because you hear so many different things, right?
Yeah,
when you have
I do.
disease and stuff, and it's like, you don't know what to believe.
Yes, ma'am. So it is complex. So that's, ladies, I am, again, a disease reversal coach. I'm a holistic wellness practitioner, but I'm also a disease reversal coach. And so when I went back to school in 1999 and really kind of dug into immune system and holistic nutrition in the year 2000, so I will just be my authentic self. I did learn quite a bit about natural therapies, how to heal cancer in the year 2000, and read several books about healing cancer naturally. And I was pissed, to be frank, healing myself and then learning. There's just so much wonderful information that is suppressed. It's suppressed. So in regards to finding something that's credible, there are so many wonderful books on the market. For me as a practitioner, what I guide my clients, especially when you are on a journey of healing a disease. So I've had many, many cancer clients. I've had cancer clients who've healed themselves 100% naturally. From stage 1 to stage 4 terminal cancers have healed themselves naturally. And then I've had cancer clients who I've assisted them with chemo and radiation to help to mitigate some of those side effects. And then I've had many, many clients who have had conventional therapies, and then be it's their first time or second time or third time having cancer, being NED, no evidence of disease, and then having it come back and do conventional therapies, and then have it come back again. And then the establishment says, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do for you. That's how I've received many, many of my clients. That's a big takeaway today, too, ladies. Never, never give up. Never give up. There's always answers. So my best advice would be, no matter where you are in your cancer journey, if you have active disease or you're still going through therapies, a plant-based diet. So you'll hear or read about keto. I'm not a big fan of keto. So have there been people who've healed themselves from cancer with a keto diet? Absolutely. But then there's work to do to heal organs afterwards. There's other organ systems, especially the kidneys and the liver, that take a hit during keto. So I'm more in the vein of, ladies, have you ever heard the Gerson Diet, Gerson? What I recommend to my clients is something very similar, but the Gerson Diet is really aggressive, very a lot of juicing. And so I've kind of scaled back more straightforward, a little bit easier plan to follow. So juicing, that's part of the Gerson Diet, and lots of organic produce. If you're consuming, my nephew had cancer in 2012. He was diagnosed with a non-germinoma germ cell tumor in his brain. He was 11 years old at the time, and I had been studying since the year 2000 in regards to cancer and cancer reversal. And so I was very prepared. My sister was devastated, as any mother would be, but I felt very prepared, and I felt very confident that everything would be okay, no matter what this was going to look like. So doing natural therapies. My sister started juicing, went to a vegan diet. I recommend veganism, except for ghee, or ghee is a clarified butter, organic ghee or organic butter. I recommend veganism for my clients who are on a healing journey, who they're healing their cancer or their diabetes or lupus, Lyme, multiple sclerosis. Of course, I didn't know about healing multiple sclerosis when my mom was still alive, but I do now. My father died of a massive heart attack at 52. My brother died of a massive heart attack at 38. My mom died of complications to multiple sclerosis. And every week I'm teaching people how to heal from those diseases naturally. So I stand on my parents' shoulders and my brother's shoulders. Their lives were not for naught. If they knew what to do, they would have done it. They would have done it. So now my nephew, my sister was very open, and as was my brother-in-law. So they went to a vegan juicing diet and using homeopathy, flower essences, essential oils, so on and so forth. His cancer tumor markers went normal in 2 weeks. And so that was a miracle for sure. And we were giving him Reiki. My sister decided at the time, as soon as her son was diagnosed, and she's like, I think I'd like to become Reiki. I said, that's a great idea. So she became Reiki at the time. My other sister was a Reiki practitioner. So the three of us girls would be at his hospital bedside giving him Reiki. And I'd be bringing juices to the hospital on the daily. So that was our first miracle. His tumor markers went normal, but there was still benign tumor in the center of his brain. And then that he was diagnosed October 11th of 2012, and he had his brain surgery on December 28th of 2012. And he was deemed cancer and tumor free on that day. So his cancer journey was 2 months. And then my sister refused the remaining chemotherapy and radiation, and they just stayed on a holistic path. And he's a sophomore at UW Milwaukee here and thriving. So the vegan and the juicing, I can't recommend highly enough. And his numbers, because there was still the benign tumor. And when there's a tumor in the brain, really chemotherapy is what they recommend, no matter what type of tumor it is in the brain. And so I think, ladies, you've heard that language too. They wanted to shrink the tumor more before removing it, despite being benign. And his numbers, his liver enzymes and his numbers stayed, they couldn't believe it. They had never seen anything like it, but that was due to the juicing and the organic produce. So it helped his body to really tolerate, if you will. So I hope that answered your question, lovely lady. Absolutely. And yes, there's really wonderful books out there. So Chris Carr, she's kind of a cool cat. She has Crazy Sexy Cancer books on the market. We're not in perfect alignment. She does tout the vegan, but I really tout vegan minus gluten and wheat and grains. So we're not in perfect alignment, but she has some pretty cool books out there and pretty cool cookbooks, things of that nature, juicing recipes. So Chris Carr, I don't know what her website is, but Crazy Sexy Cancer is the name of her business. So that's a great place to start for recipes and ideas. And then there's a woman called Green Smoothie Girl, I think, greensmoothiegirl.com. She's got great recipes, juices, and I think she's a lovely lady who healed her cancer naturally. I think her breast cancer naturally. All right, is there other questions? Any questions in regards to Reiki? Okay, I'll just touch then a little bit again on my Reiki journey. So ladies, as I was saying, to help my mom with her pain for multiple sclerosis. So I was really praying for her. And what happened, this is how God works too. My intention was to help her when becoming Reiki really assisted my journey. So of course, I did radically change my diet. And so at 31, when I radically changed my diet, what does that look like? In that book, Healing Childhood Ear Infections, I learned that dairy is the number one cause of ear infection and respiratory infections. And that's what my daughter was suffering from. And I'm like, what the hell? Not one doctor said cut out dairy products. And so I cut out dairy products. I had my blood tested for food allergy. I was allergic to wheat. And I cut out wheat. I went to a whole food diet. I was not vegan, but I went to higher quality meat. We started eating grass-fed beef, organic chicken, organic eggs. I was eating much more produce. I wasn't eating processed food anymore. No partially hydrogenated oils, no shitty vegetable oils like mazola or, canola oil, things of that nature. And so I knew maybe 1/1000 of what I do today. But radically changing my diet for my baby, my intention was to help my baby, and I cured myself. Then with trying to help my mom, my prayer was to help her. And then I became this Reiki practitioner. And when Reiki moves through you, you actually receive more Reiki than what you give. So here again, it's like, that's how the universe works. When you want to give, you receive so much more. And so for Reiki, for me, the way I look at my life is like before Reiki, after Reiki. Like for Jesus Christ, it's like, you know, BC and AD. Mine is, you know, BRAR after Reiki. So for my Reiki journey, what it really allowed me, I was raised Catholic, which is complicated. And then I became an Ekist, ECKANKAR, Ekankar. My mom became an Ekist in the late 70s. So I was an Ekist for a time. And then in my early 20s, I was nothing. I just was a spiritual woman, young woman trying to find herself and trying to figure out this crazy world. And so I've always been a spiritual person. I've always prayed, even if I didn't have, you know, a religion to call myself. And so what Reiki did for me, it just allowed me to be more fully connected to what we call God or source. Because once you become Reiki and the Reiki is moving through your body, I have the luxury of giving myself Reiki every single day. And so it's become this sacred practice where when I wake up in the morning, I'm giving myself Reiki. I can be showering in the morning. I'm allowing this energy healing to move through me. So again, with all the different diagnoses that I had, yes, did the radical diet change really help the physical? Yes, it certainly did. But the mental, emotional, spiritual, and continuing to heal trauma. I came from an abusive family. I came from a very poor family. A lot of trouble, 4 kids. My dad was a foundry worker. My mom was crippled. That wasn't fun. There wasn't enough food in the house. And so there's all of these things that the work that many individuals have to do going through therapies or, you know, really doing the work to find themselves. I had the luxury of giving myself this energy work every single day. And it allowed me to shift really the languages that helped to shift my consciousness. And so who I am today, because I have Reiki to utilize every single day, I'm at a different level of consciousness. It's actually difficult to explain. It's like a sense of peace, a sense of wholeness. And if I'm not feeling quite well, if I'm starting to get a headache, I can give myself Reiki. My daughters are 20 and 22. Again, my infant daughter, I started using Reiki on her. And then my second daughter, I had the luxury during my pregnancy, I could give this baby in utero Reiki. And during my labor and delivery, it was wild. I was giving this baby and myself Reiki. And so I've had the luxury when they're not feeling quite well. Gosh, when they were tiny tots, when they finally could have language, they say, Mama, Reiki. Oh, okay. Little kids and animals, they're so drawn. They know when they need healing. They know when they need Reiki, and they will just ask for it. So my cats, they just love me. I locked them out of the room. I was looking to see if any were on my bed. They're not. They will come to me, and then animals know exactly how much Reiki they need. I can give them the Reiki energy, and when they're done, they just walk away. If you're giving Reiki to a baby, they get a little bit, fussy, and oh, they're done. Or small children, as soon as they're receiving the Reiki, when they're done, they just walk away. So my daughters have had the luxury of not knowing a life without this lovely energy healing medicine. And it's helped them then during times of my 22-year-old was bullied quite severely, where we had to get police involved. And we had the luxury of then, as the evening came, then we could settle down. I could use, Reiki energy to help to calm her, help her to go to sleep. I also used other lovely homeopathic and flower essences. I'm a natural remedy expert, so I'm always pulling out some kind of remedy. But yes, my daughters, they've never known a life without Reiki. And now my daughters, when they were little, they started asking, when can I be Reiki? Or they pretend like I'm giving the kitty Reiki. Okay, girls, good job. And now they're both Reiki practitioners themselves. I mentioned my sisters. Both my sisters thought I was batshit crazy. They're like, okay, Natalie, live with the Reiki. Kind of freaked them out. Then my one sister, she's like, as soon as you start teaching, I want you to be my teacher. Soon as in 2009, when I became a teacher, she said, I want to be one of your first students. So was my sister, and like 5 of my best friends were my first Reiki students. And now anybody in my inner circle, My neighbors are Reiki, my friends are Reiki, and many, many, many of my clients. Now when they come in for a Reiki session and they're loving it and then say, gosh, how long does it take to become Reiki? What should I do to become Reiki? I'm like, it's a 1-day workshop. And if you feel called, if you feel, you don't have to be perfect. I've had clients or students say, oh no, well, I mean, I still smoke cigarettes. I can't be Reiki. Yes, you can. Yep. You don't have to be a perfect vehicle to allow this wonderful healing energy to move through you. And it'll actually help you to heal then to be your best self. We're all on a healing journey from the moment we're on a journey, from the moment we're born to the moment we leave this planet. And it's a continuous evolution if you allow it to be, if you keep your heart and your mind open. So perfection is not expected with Reiki. So I've had many, many of my clients then, my husband's like, your business model sucks, because then I'm like, well, gosh, my Reiki sessions, they were for many years 80 and then now 85. And now I ask $100 a session. And you can become Reiki, depends on the teacher in your area, anywhere, teachers ask anywhere between, I guess, probably $100 to $500. I ask $250 for a 1-day class. So for $250, you can become Reiki instead of going in for a Reiki session for $100. I mean, it's so the investment pays off itself thousands of times fold. And so, I mean, I do lose clients, if you will, but many of my students do come back occasionally just for a reboot, just to receive Reiki from a practitioner instead of just giving them Reiki themselves. But yes, I think once people experience Reiki, once they've had that session, so often it's hard to articulate, put into words, what exactly really happened. Because what can manifest is so, vast. Some people, a lot of my clients will fall asleep because they're super relaxed, and in a relaxed state, that's where, wonderful healing can manifest. I've had clients laugh through the whole session, talk through the whole session. Like my mom, I've had clients cry through the whole session, and I just try to make my client as comfortable as possible. And then once somebody's received the Reiki, once they've had that experience, it's like potato chips. You can't just have one. So a person will want to come back time and time again. And then so many of my clients will then say, yes, how can I just do this for myself forever? So that's so cool, where the energy medicine then becomes a really big gun in your arsenal. Still lovely to receive. That's why Reiki shares. My sisters will come to my Reiki shares, friends who have become Reiki, clients who've become Reiki. Then we can kind of practice and enjoy each other's company, like-minded people, healers healing the healers. But when you're Reiki, you can give it to yourself every single day. Ladies, any questions as I'm ramble?
What about people with like addictions?
Yeah.
Because I've had friends, and even like my cousin now is just struggling, and he's done the rehab and stuff, and it's just, he is so far.
Yes.
Like, what more for him?
I think that's a brilliant question. So absolutely, Reiki is very beneficial. I've had many clients who are addicts. Now, again, because I'm comprehensive, I come from that holistic wellness perspective as well as energy medicine perspective. But Reiki does help to shift, again, the consciousness to even want to be well, so a person might intellectually think, of course, I want to kick this. But then there's the traumas and the stressors that they can be triggered. And then it's just regrettable. Then we blame the addict when really there is that level of disease, if you will. So we don't shame people with cancer, but we'll shame people with addictions when really it's a disease of a different type. So it would be very, very beneficial. And then a side note, as a practitioner, I've assisted many people to heal their addiction, because it is a healing journey, and it has a lot to do with gut health. And so that's something that I can recommend to all of you ladies too. Our gut health is so important, where probiotics are absolutely imperative. Fermented foods like raw sauerkraut, kombucha tea, like all of this seems like it's such new age stuff. It's not. It's been around for millions of years. So that'd be a huge recommendation. You said it's your cousin? Yes. So recommend it to your cousin.
It's alcoholism for him.
Okay.
So he was just in the hospital because he's having so much stuff with his pancreas because it's just the addiction has been there so long. It's just taking a toll on his organs.
Sure, absolutely. So just in the now, to absolutely Reiki would be very beneficial. And then anything that he can put in his body that's nutritious. So my brother and my sister-in-law, my brother who died of a massive heart attack, the cofactor for that was that he was an alcoholic. And so, I have a sister-in-law who died of a drug overdose. So very, very close to my heart, addiction. And there's so much research and science to show that one of the key cofactors for healing an addiction is gut health. And so there is that gut-brain connection. And so just adding in more produce, fermented foods, a probiotic, even when he's not, when the addiction is still having a stronghold, but it'll make it so much easier to shift to even thinking clearly, even wanting to be well. So produce, fermented foods, and absolutely Reiki would be a huge benefit. All right, any other questions, ladies? Okay, let's see, we're about 10 to 8. Let's see. Anything on your heart and minds, ladies, in regards to Reiki or health and healing? So, all right. My prayer for each one of you is to continue to follow your heart and follow as you feel called. Follow your inner guide, your inner wisdom, and continue to evolve and know that there are always answers. Never, never give up. If you're on one particular path and you feel called to do something else, it's like we judge people so harshly in our world that we really want to support each other and whatever your journey looks like. So I'm here as a holistic healing practitioner, but I'm also a life and spiritual coach. I'm here to hold sacred space. And even though I have diarrhea of the mouth this evening and I'm rambling, this is really holding sacred space together. And when we gather in a circle, a lot of power can manifest. And so I honor each one of you as you're supporting each other on this journey. Happiness is a huge cofactor for healing as well. And so try to find in this lifetime what brings you the most joy, even on your darkest day or when you're feeling your worst. Really trying to find what brings you joy. Gratitude puts you in a space where you're not feeling anxiety, you're not feeling frustrated. When you shift to gratitude, so you're allowed to feel however you feel. But may I say, if you can find moments in your day that you can find sacred. So for me, morning and evening, for sure, especially when my girls were little, before we started the day, I made sure I would get up a little bit earlier, but I'd stay in my bed. I'd be giving myself Reiki, praying, meditating to begin my day, just creating that sacred. And then forecasting, my day, being very optimistic about my day and feeling grateful that I opened my eyes. Life is no joke, especially now with what's going on in the world. A lot of heavy energy, a lot of frustration. There's a lot of depression, anxiety going on. So focusing on self, ladies, is not selfish, it's selfless. But we've all been raised, to give until your cup is empty. That's bullshit. We can give to others and show up best when we're taking the best care of ourselves. So find that time in the day for sacred. I urge each one of you, meditation is so powerful and profound. It seems so intimidating to quiet the mind. You can start somewhere. Start with guided meditation. There's some really cool, I'm sure many of the ladies in this group know different apps that you can sign up for. There's guided meditation videos, things of that nature. So if you're not a pro at meditating, that's cool. Find something where you can just quiet your mind by listening to something else. If that's beautiful music, if it's a guided meditation, to get out of the monkey mind is when your body can be in a state of healing. So meditation, gratitude, a gratitude journal, even though you ladies are at different levels of struggle, finding, each one of us probably has a flushing toilet, right? I don't think anybody's living on a ranch with an outhouse. Even a flushing toilet or a sunny day or having running water. I think so many of these things we just take for granted. So when you shift into an attitude of gratitude, that is also a very healing space. And so find those moments in a day for that little bit of sacred. And then in closing too, my favorite doctors, ladies, are sunshine. So we've been all taught to hide from the sun. Pretty much whatever you hear on TV, do the opposite. No, the sun, we are much more like plants than we've ever been allowed to believe. We need sun. Vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And we need that for our immune system. So especially during these times where there's a virus going on, we just upped our vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of the biggest preventatives of any virus, and low vitamin D levels are associated with when there's a cytokine storm or somebody becomes violently ill. So vitamin D, the sun, one of my favorite doctors, fresh, clean water. So I recommend to my clients and my family, we have unfluoridated water. Fluoride is dangerous because we hear it's good for us. It's good for our teeth. That is not the truth. I'll be frank, that's a lie. So sunshine, fresh water, fresh air, Mother Earth. So ladies, anytime you can get your feet bare on the ground, it's called earthing. In the summertime, I live in the Milwaukee area. It is cold here, y'all. It is cold. It's cold right now. Then the summer months, we have like a 3-month window. I will take naps outside on the ground on a natural cotton blanket or a cotton towel, because then you're connected to Mother Earth. So sunshine, clean water, fresh air, Mother Earth, and then all of the plant life. So my philosophy is if the food was created in a plant, avoid it. If it came from a plant, eat it. So reading labels, if a label has more than a couple of ingredients, you don't want to consume it. If on that label, it has like words you can't read, it's garbage. It's garbage. Food science is brilliant. Food science is brilliant because they have food on the shelf that would last you a nuclear war for about 80 years. Ladies, have you ever seen like McDonald's hamburger? And then 20 years later, the shit looks exactly the same. If it doesn't rot, don't eat it. Don't eat it. Nope. So organic produce, everything God has provided for us, or universe, Mother Earth has provided for us. And this Reiki energy medicine is just that another level of something that's natural, something that's very healing. Everything is energy. We're made up of energy, food, water, all energy. And for healing, for optimum healing, we want to attain the highest vibrational energy that we can receive. Food is not only vitamins, minerals, enzymes, it is also information. And food literally tells our cells how to behave. It's called epigenetics. So many of us, as I said, my mom, multiple sclerosis, my dad, heart attack. I do not believe that I'm destined for multiple sclerosis or heart attack because I am going to inform my genes how to behave through what I consume. So am I 100% organic? No, but pretty damn close. And this isn't new age. This is really ancient wisdom. So when our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and grandfathers, they weren't saying, I'm going to go pick up some organic apples. They were organic. We've made everything chemicalized. Ladies, when you're getting ready in the morning, there's lotions with 300 chemicals. Our bodies were not designed to process chemicals. So what do I use for lotion? Coconut oil, avocado oil. What do I use for my face lotion? Avocado oil, coconut oil. I've gone really back to basics. So people will think I'm radical. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. I'm really like just what people were doing 100 years ago. I'm doing what people were doing 100 years ago, back to basics, back to things being natural. I wish that organics, they have to pay so much money to label their food organic. I wish that organic food was just called food, like strawberries. I wish organic strawberries were called strawberries. And then I wish that conventional strawberries were called poison strawberries, because then that's pretty black and white. A conventional strawberry has sometimes up to 72 different chemicals. An organic strawberry has 0. So to me, that doesn't feel radical at all. That, it's not new age. I'm not being cool. My prayer is because I'm healthier at 53 than I was at 7 years old, 19 years old, 31 years old. I haven't suffered another stroke. I no longer have migraines. I no longer have IBS. My eyesight is 2015 at 53. I don't need cheaters. So what does that look like? Why is my spine rejuvenated? I don't have a degenerative disease in my spine. I no longer have a central nervous system disorder. Why would that be? Yes, the Reiki energy helped me to shift my entire consciousness, even into wanting to, and knowing I can be well. Ladies, it's an honor and a pleasure to share a sacred space with you this evening. Know if your heart and your mind was open to receive, know you've received Reiki from me this evening. And so I ask each one of you to drink more water than you normally would, because receiving energy medicine can create what would be a little bit of detox symptoms, meaning emotional detox or physical detox. And so anything is normal. So drinking more water will help you to process. And so I thank you for this time together. Again, ladies, I'm Natalie Benoit. You can find me on, you can just Google my name, Natalie Benoit. My health center, my wellness center here in the Oak Creek, Wisconsin area is Inspiration Wellness Group. And my business name is Natalie Benoit Wellness. You can find me on Facebook, my website, and you can find me on LinkedIn. And so I do absolutely phone consults. I have clients not around the world yet, but nationwide. And so I do nutrition consults, I do healing gut consults, and I'm actually doing my first Facebook Live. You can find that information on Natalie Benoit Wellness on Facebook. My first Facebook Live class, Healing the Gut, and that will be a profound evening of way more information than what I shared with you this evening.
Natalie, when
Yes.
when will that one be?
Should I know? It's the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So forgive me. It's the 26th. I don't have my, should I be able to keep those dates in my mind? I should know. I can't. I'm just, in this COVID year, I used to consider, prior to this COVID year, I used to consider myself really, really sharp. I'm not right now. I can't hold dates in my mind. I can't. So I believe it's the 26th, but it's a last Tuesday of this month. Yes, ma'am. All right, ladies, any questions in closing here? Well, you got me. All right, well, thank you. And thank you, Deb, for asking me to give this talk this evening. It's really just kind of shoot from the hip. Ladies, take whatever resonates with you and leave behind what doesn't. This is an honor and a pleasure. I'm praying for each one of you that you achieve full and complete wellness in this lifetime. Follow your heart. Do you follow your joy, and don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. God bless you, ladies.
Natalie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's
this
an
evening.
honor.
Just as a quick
Thank you.
disclaimer, as always, we want to say that Pink Warrior House is just here to put information out. Please consult your medical teams before you're making any drastic changes to your treatment journeys. And then I also would be remiss to not mention, I did of course indicate that Deb generously donates her time on Thursdays to do Reiki. But
So cool.
Deb, is it okay to share that you're also available for hire if Thursdays don't work, or you would like more regular, frequent visits with Deb?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Deb.
Well, thank you, Natalie, for sharing your time and talents and your wealth of information with us. We sure appreciate it.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. All the best.
Very cool. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Natalie.
Thank you.
You all.
Thank you.
God bless you, girls.
Thank you so much.